Hello, Carolyn, and welcome to the stage.
Greetings, greetings. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you doing?
I am blessed. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. First, can you introduce yourself to everyone? Who are you? Where are you from?
Well, my name is Carolyn Johnson. I am from the sunny state of South Carolina. I
Mhm.
am the mother of four handsome young men. I am a business owner, entrepreneur. I own some tax offices, own a funeral home,
Mhm.
a nonprofit. My love is care. uh,
Mhm.
Especially for my elderly and my young people. So much so, I have a nonprofit that works with at-risk youth, um,
Yes.
and I'm just a lover of people,
Mhm.
and I
So
fear
you're
God.
yes, you are a lover of people. That is definitely something that I recognized from you when I met you at the conference. So I can take that. I can attest to that absolutely. Okay, so let's begin with the icebreaker question. The
Okay,
first question is, if today was your last day on earth, what is one thing you'd want to share?
I would want people to know and understand that anything is possible if we just believe.
Yes,
If we
just
just
believe.
believe. I think that so many people think a thing, but they refuse to believe a thing, and therefore it never comes to pass because it
Yes.
has to go from the head to the heart.
That's very true. That's very true. It starts here before we
Yes,
can do anything else. So I love that.
exactly.
Okay. All right, Carolyn. So please give us your background. I know we're both funeral directors. What got you into this industry?
So I grew up in funeral industry.
Yes.
Funeral home was owned by my uncle, my mother's youngest brother.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I used to have to come to the funeral home to answer the phones and this, that, and other. So kids always picked at me for
Yes.
having to go to the funeral home when they were doing other things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I said it in my heart and my spirit is I'm not going to have to work at the funeral home after graduation from high school. My parents, of course, could not afford to send me to college. So I elected to go into the military.
Mm-hmm.
Went in the military and proudly served.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
Came home from serving my country and opened some tax offices. While in the military, I acquired 4 degrees.
Oh.
Yeah. And so, of all of them, numbers was my go-to. And
Yeah.
so I wanted a job that I was not going to have to work hard, but that I could work smart. And
Yes.
so, being having a master's in accounting,
Mm-hmm.
I actually opened some Liberty Tax franchises,
Mm-hmm.
did very, very well with them, and saw a change coming and decided, you know what, let me sell while it's while everything's still good. Let
Yep.
me sell and just do a mom and pop. I kept just only my clients, right? And so in 2019, I would always help out if needed. But then in
Mm-hmm.
2019, a change came and my services were needed. And
Mm-hmm.
so when my uncle called, I came and haven't been able to leave since then. So my uncle transitioned in 2022, October, and his will, unbeknown to me, left the funeral home to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was nothing new because I was running everything anyway. I've always had a strong business mind, which I would say to anyone is a necessity when going into any type of business. So I've always had the strong business mind, but then some changes in life prompted me to care a little differently in the funeral industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I got kind of pulled back in after running away from it. And I like to tell people that what happened was that I was not ready for a thing. God always knew, but I was not ready for a thing. So He
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to go out into the world and get the things that I needed to be who I am today. And so
Mm-hmm.
for that, I'm grateful.
Yes. So you left, and now that you're back, what do you find most fulfilling about what you're doing now that you're back in the industry on your own terms?
So, if I may, I'm going to take you back to 2019
Okay.
when I came back to the funeral home full time in the
Mm-hmm.
early part of the year. In that year, there were so many senseless gun violent murders. And so we were serving family after family after family for kids, young people that were killed um, as a result of senseless gun violence. And so having to serve them and encourage them to lean not to their own understanding, to embrace the peace of God,
Mm-hmm.
and comforting them was heart wrenching for me because again I love people, especially young people and old people, and so I was forced to um, talk to parents who were grieving the loss of their children. And then October 3rd of 2019, God, I tell people that God knew that day was coming because I got that call that my son had been murdered. And so for the first time, I'm sitting in the first seat
Yeah.
because that's my son, my youngest son at the age of 24. And I'm on the other side. I'm in what I call the first seat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything changed for me. No, I know that everything changed for me during that time because before here I am, I'm the listener. Now I'm forced to be the talker. I'm forced to say what it is that I need during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we in the funeral industry sometimes become a little senseless because
Mm-hmm.
it's not us. We're not the one going through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really routine for
Mm-hmm.
us. And so I, for the first time, and I say first time. Now, granted, my mother transitioned 2012, my sister in 2006, but
Mm-hmm.
this was my child. I gave birth, my baby boy, right? And so here it is now. I know what I need. Finding
Mm-hmm.
out that some of what was being given was not what I need. Then
Mm-hmm.
there were things that were missing that were. So I
Yeah.
took away from when it comes to business, I took away from my son's death the level of care, genuine, personalized care.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
saying that the average funeral mortician or director or attendant does not genuinely care,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a difference when you're personalizing that genuine care.
Yes. Yeah.
My child was not one that sang on the choir. He liked to try to do his little rap music. My
Mm-hmm.
child was not one that wore shirt and tie. He liked wearing his own brand or his brother's brand, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to personalize that service because at that point I had to realize that this is not my service. So many times when people come into the funeral home, they're having their service. This is not your service.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became my duty to help people to realize that this is at that time, this is Justin's service. This
Yeah.
is not Carolyn's service. This is about Justin. And so what that did to me was to help me to create a personalization that was genuine
Mm-hmm.
to my clients. And so it's not business as usual now. It's
Mm-hmm.
business as mandated by the person that I'm serving. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is one of my biggest takeaways, not just from my son's death, but from life as a whole. I
Mm-hmm.
learned now to deal with people on their level,
Mm-hmm.
personalize things for them. And so um I love service. I love service anyway. I'm just that person that if I'm in a store and you don't greet me, the that's just who I am. If
Yes.
I want people, like, I want to be deserving of any person that comes and graces this business. I want to be
Mhm.
deserving of them. I don't want to the attitude is, oh, well, your grandmama came and your great grandmama came. No, 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 no. That was them. That was their service. I
Mhm.
want to deserve your business. And so
Mhm.
to do that, I like the opportunity to talk about personalization, to talk about genuine care, to
Mhm.
sit there and really listen, right? And then the other thing is, I know they know what they want, I know what they need. So bring those two things together
Yes. Yes.
and,
Mhm.
and really honor the life of the person that we're funeralizing.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your story. When you first shared it with me, ugh, my heart still goes out to you for the loss of your son, but also as a funeral director, because I know what it's like as a funeral director to kind of have this. I call it like the mask. Like, we're here, I'm empathizing with you, but I'm not going through the process with you because I can't manage going through that process with everybody. There has to be this separation. But then when it comes around on the other side, it almost, like, I think for me, it almost hits us harder because
yeah.
we're so used to being like this. When we're faced with the reality, now we have to come off of what we're accustomed to and to feel it. So thank you for sharing.
Well, and I'm glad that you said that because there's a stigma that we
Mm-hmm.
have to be that we have to have this mask on, and we
Yeah.
have to be so hard, and we have to. No, we don't. We are humans. We
Mm-hmm.
are graced with feelings. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that it's okay to shed a tear every now and then. I
100%.
need to families. It's okay for them to know that I can't say that I feel your pain, but it hurts me to see your pain. And so I may drop a tear. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make me any less of a person. It doesn't make me soft, or it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make me, it just says that I feel your pain.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that I'm sorry, that I see your pain.
Mm-hmm.
For me, because I'm a genuine person, I love people, I often feel their pain. It
Mm-hmm.
transfers. I mean, sometimes I ask God, I say, God, you know what? Transfer that, because I feel like I'm stronger than they are to carry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want, I tell people, this pain, the pain of losing a loved one, is predicated on the life that you had with that loved one. My children and I are very close.
Yes.
My baby boy is the one that they said, oh, she spoiled that boy. She spoiled that boy. That boy is
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
My children are spoiled. But let me
Mm-hmm.
say this to you. On the day of the funeral, which
Mm-hmm.
yesterday was 4 years,
Right.
when that limousine took me back to the door,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody went to their separate ways to now get back to their normal life, to go catch up on some things that they may have needed to do, to go
Mm-hmm.
get kids. I sat at my home, and that is when the fact that my son is no longer here really registered with me. And I am not ashamed to say today that I contemplated suicide. I thank God for my relationship with
Mm-hmm.
Him and Him being omnipresent, because
Mm-hmm.
I fell on my knees and I cried out to God for that hole that was inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
God showed up and did what He said in His word that He would do. He was
Mm-hmm.
the comforter that He said He would be.
Yes.
But I also had to realize it's important for me as a professional to continue to pray for these families, because like that car drove off from me,
Mm-hmm.
we drive off from every family,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing what they're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
because they too, some of them are masking it.
Yes.
And so it became very imperative for me to lift these families up in prayer. So now I have a little list and I call those names out. You know, I follow up
Yeah.
with my families to see if they're okay. I
Mhm.
keep a bank of counselors. I go,
Please.
I speak against people being afraid to go to grief counseling.
Absolutely.
I go to grief counseling.
Mhm.
You know, there's sometimes when I need to talk about it. I'm okay.
Mhm.
Sometimes I just want to release, and I
Yeah.
don't have the people readily available that I can release to or that are educated enough to tell me, well, you know what you might want to try doing?
Mhm.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
Counseling is okay. But I went through all of that to be the force I am today.
Mhm. Hey, yes.
I
I
really,
love that we're talking about beyond the funeral, right?
yes.
Because years ago, I was just talking to some of the like the newer funeral directors now on our side, funeral directors, mortician on your side, but back in the day, you were not allowed to have any of these emotions. You weren't allowed to drop a tear. You were not allowed to be a person and to have any connection with the family. This new age of funerals and funeral services is this, and I think this is exactly what's needed. It's to be here on this level with you as you're going through, right? I'm here to help right here. And then not just saying goodbye at the end of the funeral, but here's some resources. We're here. Call us back if you have questions. I think for us, a lot of our families, this is before, they used to come and just sit down and talk, and or just to come to sit, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the last place that they saw their loved one and they feel comfortable here. And we're like, we're here for it. If you want to come, if you need to say hi, this is what we're doing. Yes, go ahead.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then even being involved, you know, if they got a family reunion, encourage them to participate, encourage them to be
Mm-hmm.
family oriented. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we've just got to really realize that it's okay to care.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, it's a big thing when I'm working with the family. I want pictures. I want to know. I can learn so much from hearing you talk about your loved one and looking at pictures. And
Mm-hmm.
my goal is to the end life, the service that we're going to give, be one that belong to that individual instead of me going
Mm-hmm.
doing business as here's the outline. This is what we go with.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we want to personalize. That service. I also feel when my son took a gunshot wound to his temple,
Mm-hmm.
and on that day, I refused to believe that it was my son. I know what they said, but I didn't see him,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went to pick him up because I needed to see.
From the hospital or at the funeral home, you mean?
Corner.
You did it yourself?
Yes, I
Okay.
needed to see. I needed to see. Reality wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, I can also tell you today that that probably was not a good idea.
Yeah.
But what it did, it Draper G. Myers Mortuary
Mm-hmm.
in Florence, South Carolina, was doing some contract work for us at that time.
Mm-hmm.
He and the guy Daniel, Daniel Studemeyer, I think his last name was.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, they got back there, allowed me to come and go as I please. But the importance of what they were doing to me was I need my son to look like my son.
Yeah.
I don't want the excuse that he took a gunshot wound to the head to
Yeah.
be your reasoning for him to look like somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
The art of funeral industry
Mm-hmm.
is so unique.
Yeah.
Until today, there's really no excuse why we're not making them look like themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the picture. This is what I need. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm so grateful to Daniel and to Draper for doing such an amazing job on
Mm-hmm.
my son, because my son looked like my son. And it made it easier for
Mm-hmm.
me to look at him then. It
Absolutely.
made it really easy. And so that's another application that I've taken from my son's death. It's
Mm-hmm.
important for the family member to look like themselves by any means necessary. This
Absolutely.
is what I need to happen. If
Yes.
it's a different makeup artist I need, let's call the makeup artist. If
Mm-hmm.
it's a different embalmer that I need, whatever it is, to by any means necessary, that is
Mm-hmm.
what, that's customer service.
Yes. I love
That's
it.
deserving you as a client, you
Absolutely.
deserving to have me as a
Mm-hmm.
professional. And so there were so many takeaways though. I mean, from the initial all the way to the end,
Mm-hmm.
there were things that I learned about the industry that were not taught in a book.
Yeah.
They were taught from personal experiences. And I think that that is one of the things that is going to drive our market today.
Yes.
Not the cars. Everybody go on, oh, we're young and young, got nice cars. Yes, we got nice cars.
Yes.
But terrible service with nice cars, what does that equate?
Yeah.
You know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, oh, they got a nice dining room. So, what is that without service? We have to get back to
Mm-hmm.
making things about service.
Yes.
And what we do from the initial call, the first viewing, or getting ready for the first viewing, sometimes we're afraid to say, you know what, Miss Mary, you don't have to say to her, the soup came in bad. It's just not going to give you a good look when you put that on. What does it hinder you to have a relationship with your local cleaners that you can send that
Mm-hmm.
item there and make it presentable? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I learned through the funeral industry, and this is funny, but I want every mortician or funeral director to look at themselves. How you dress is how you dress your clients.
Absolutely.
So look in the
Absolutely.
mirror, and if your clothes are always stained or this, that, and other, then it doesn't bother you to put that stained shirt on that client.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
service, you go
Yeah.
above and beyond.
Always.
Young
Yeah.
and young, I tell my staff, we do fanatical. We offer fanatical customer service. That
I
means
like.
they're going to go above and beyond for that client, whether the service is in a minimal metal or a bronze casket. We are the service industry. The service
Mm-hmm.
part of it is going to be the same. The delivery. We are not going to negate because this funeral was more expensive than this funeral. No, because that
Mm-hmm.
provide service. We're not in the casket sale industry. We're not in the flower sale industry. We sell service. And so
Mm-hmm.
that my son's death helped me to realize what's really needed.
Yeah.
What's and I'm sure that there's some other things out there. It's case by case, of course. That's why
Mm-hmm.
it's important for us to get to know our families.
Absolutely. I think you brought me back to when I was in school and new brand, as I would say, in the industry. Maybe even actually was a co-op before that. Anyway, we're talking about getting the right person to do the cosmetics or dressing or whatever you need to do. Like nowadays, the nails, trust me, when I pass, everybody knows, make sure my nails are done.
Right.
Like when I was in school or when I first started and I went into that cosmetic kit in order to take the funeral cosmetics that they were using and to tint them to do our skin, there was shoe polish in there. And they would mix the shoe polish with the cosmetics, and that's what they were using, right? But when you know better, you do better, right?
Right.
So at the time, that's what they knew. I showed up and said, garbage. Let's talk about how to do cosmetics. And that's when I talk about the change in the industry.
Hmm.
Compare that to where we are now. We use MAC, like we're not using any of that because this shine that I love so much needs to be there for me at the time. So I love taking the industry from what it was,
Hmm.
really personalizing it to us. And I love that because you said the funerals are for them. It's supposed to be reflective of you. And when I sit with our families in the it's the opposite that I'm saying. I'm like, remember, your funeral, it's yours, but the service and the experience and all of that is for your family. Right. So it's combining those two. Go ahead.
And let's talk about that, the pre, right?
Mhm.
So I'll tell you why the pre is so important right now is
Mhm.
because we're dealing with a different mindset of people, period.
Yes.
Right? So mom is 75 years old and she's dependent on maybe a grandchild who's never done this before to do things. I think that every family, the word of God say, be wise in all things. The word of
Mhm.
God also says, show us we're born, we're going to die. So
Mhm.
death is not something that we can run from.
Mhm.
It's something that we need to be prepared for, right?
Mhm.
And so before it used to just be the insurance. Get your insurance. Make sure you got insurance. Well, now you do need the insurance for sure, but you also need a plan. What do you
Mhm.
want to happen when it's your time? Do you want makeup? What color rouge is your favorite? Don't
Yes.
allow the daughter who is a plain Jane to come in and say, "Oh, don't put mom on makeup." But every picture she has
Yeah.
on makeup, you
Mhm.
know? And then as a professional, we get to talk about, listen, well, let's say this. Mom may say, absolutely no makeup. Let's have the conversation then about, well, according to how you die, we may need to apply a little of this or that. Let's have the conversations, make the notation so that when that time comes, mom is not in red lips, something she's never worn before, you know? Um, and that's we talk about that with the makeup, but we're talking about pre-planning as a whole. I'm
Mhm.
I'm seeing now that so many are not prepared to die
Mhm. Oh,
as if we had a choice.
yeah.
We all want to live forever, but we don't have that choice. I learned that with, you know, people ask me all the time, how'd you go through losing your 24-year-old son? Daily, I thank God for 24 years because as a
Mhm.
mortician, I buried 2-year-old, I buried 7-month old, you
Yeah.
know, and I thought that it was selfish of me to be upset
Mhm.
about 24 years when this mother got two, right?
Wow.
So we
Mhm.
don't know when death is going to happen. So we need to have the real conversations. Even if you're not ready for the pre-need, let's have the conversation
That's it. You've got it.
so that you can begin to get ready. Let's talk
Mhm.
about the importance of choosing burial versus cremation.
Yeah.
I had a lady
Mhm.
one time, she said, I'm coming in here because I don't want to burn twice.
Let me tell you, the things that people say when they come in here, you like, they're the laughs, there's the straight talking that they do. I appreciate that. Carolyn, I'm looking at the time. So you have a wide, like, we can talk about your career path, your history. Like, over here, I didn't grow up in the industry, so I didn't even have that childhood experience that you did. Can you give me a final moment here and speak to the next generation? What would you say, what kind of wisdom would you want to pass on to the next generation of funeral directors, and how we can sustain what we're doing?
So, my heartfelt thoughts would be, don't let this just be a job. Make
Mhm.
this a service. We are a service industry.
Mhm.
And in doing so, fret not small beginnings.
Mhm.
You know, take in, go into rooms that are filled with people that you can learn from. Don't
Mhm.
ever try to always be in a room where you're the smartest tool in the
Yes.
box.
Yes.
Continue to learn. Don't stop learning.
Mhm.
Embrace change. You said a mouthful earlier when you talked about the kit with the shoe polish as a
Yes.
supplement. Well,
Mhm.
now, because you continuously go, you continuously grow, and you see other things. So
Yes.
that would be my thought to them. Fret not
Mhm.
small beginnings.
Mhm.
Genuinely care about each and every family. God is giving you an enormous amount of care that you
Mhm.
can give to your families. And then stay in rooms that are going to assist you in growing. Never be
Mhm.
afraid to speak, always be informative, and just stay true to yourself.
Yes. I love that. Here's
Yes.
to the next generation of funeral directors. We welcome you and look forward to having you in the industry.
Yes.
Carolyn, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being so open to share your story. Please let everyone know where they can find you, those in your area.
Okay, I am at Young and Young Funeral Home, located at 711 South 6th Street in the city of Hartsville, South Carolina.
Mhm.
I can be found on the website at www.ynyfh.com. And of course, on social media, I am Carolyn Cranford Johnson or Young and Young Funeral Home. In my end, though, I'd like to say to you ladies over in the big city of, well, in Canada,
Yes.
in the state of Canada, I am extremely proud
Thank
of you all. And I know you talk about what you gained from me, but understand this, there is so much that I gained from you all. The level of energy that I
you.
drew from you all
Mhm.
is just awesome. And I say to you, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep learning, keep striving, keep going to conferences, keep being the face in the room so that
Mhm.
you can continue to glow. More people know of you than I knew, right?
Mhm.
I'm telling everybody, it's like, yeah, they ain't Ontario. What? You knew about them and never said anything. So
Yeah.
out there, continue to strive. It is a beautiful thing, especially shameless plug, to see women in the industry doing it. And
Thank
so my hat's off to you ladies. Thank you so much for thinking it not robbery to have me here today.
you.
My little old story. Um, I'll continue to pray for you guys as you
Thank
guys
you.
do the same for us. And again, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Thank you. Okay. Everyone, thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you've taken some information from it that you can apply to your life and then get results from. I will see you on the next episode of Ending Well with Minnelle. Take care.